There are not many ways to God. There's one. His name is Jesus. He is not Krishna. He is not Buddha. He is not Muhammad. He is Jesus, the Lamb of God, slain from the foundation of the world. I can't go there. And then I had a whole lot of fun writing that one called Living on Our Heads to show us how upside down we think. Baptized in backwardity and upside downitude, where we call good things bad and bad things evil, where we celebrate debauchery and ridicule goodness, where we've lost our way, where we think upside down. 2 years God dealt with me concerning the one thing and the one thing only that could take all three of those and turn them right side up. The Bible's an interesting book. It tells you you go up if you go down. It tells you you receive if you give away. It tells you that everything in the kingdom you're now a part of is diametrically opposed and mutually exclusive to everything in the kingdom you came out of. So God said, call America back to the cross. Take them back to Calvary. I had some knowledge, but I was absolutely overwhelmed and astounded when I found out the true father of the emerging church movement that so many of our young preachers sit and scoop up with a great big spoon like a dog lapping up its own meal from yesterday. Harry Fosdick, who said, I'm a liberal in theology. Of course, I do not believe in the virgin birth, nor in the old-fashioned doctrine of substitutionary atonement, nor do I know any intelligent Christian minister who does. I said, it's time and high time for somebody, when the cross is disappearing from our cityscapes. Oh God, when scantily clad, godless, gyrating pop stars, and I'm talking about the Christian ones, hang it round their necks, but are absolute strangers to the character of the Christ that died on that cross. When professional athletes brand their bodies with cross tattoos of every size and variation imaginable. But if a cross should show up at a town square or a city council meeting or a high school play, it causes fainting spells and ACLU lawsuits. Any society which tries to grasp hold of such conflicting extremes has already slid down the dark slide of amoral madness. Somebody has to lift up the cross again. It's got to get back in our singing, back in our preaching, back in our praying, back in our shouting, back in our churches, back in our architecture. And I hurry. A young man, a Valor Christian College student from Nairobi, Kenya, in Africa, where just days ago, armed with automatic weapons, extreme Muslim radicals walked into a shopping mall and there began to display portions of the Quran. Did you notice the news didn't report that? Nobody heard that. They didn't just walk in and start shooting people, as the secular press would have you to believe. They walked up to people with portions of the Quran, and if they would not agree with them, they met their fate. Into eternity they went. 68 innocent human beings had their lives snuffed out that day in Nairobi, Kenya. This young man is from Nairobi. He heard what was going on. In fact, he knew that his daughter was in that mall at exactly those moments. In fact, 2 of her friends were murdered in her eyesight. He went to check on his daughter. While he was there, he got a copy of that book, One Man, One Tree, One Friday, The Cross. Thank you, Elder. He got a copy of this book. He said, Pastor, I embarrassed myself, I suppose, on that airplane. I read it over and over and over and over and over again. And it so changed me that when he got to Nairobi, Kenya, he said, if they can walk into a mall with copies of the Quran, how about somebody walk into the streets with the cross? No, you're not ready. He put that cross on his shoulder and stood out in front of that shopping mall. Do you understand? Do you understand that he took his own life into his hands and he stood there on that street corner and preached the gospel of this cross, and 3,200 people gave their lives to Christ? I have a question for you. Who will carry the cross? Who will preach the cross? Who will proclaim the cross? Will you? So we have an assignment this afternoon, and I'm out of the way. I'm out of the way. At 1 o'clock this afternoon, you have an opportunity to carry the cross. At 1 o'clock this afternoon, churches, church folk out for their Sunday dinners will have an opportunity to say, what's all that commotion? Right here next to the ice cream shop, right here next to the movie theater, right here at the Barnes and Noble bookstore in Pickerington, Ohio, 5 miles from where we're sitting, they have opened their door to a preacher with a book about the cross. Now, it was one thing to get in there with Silent No More and Culturally Incorrect and Living on Our Heads, but we're walking in with a book proclaiming there is only one way to God, and that is through that rugged, ugly, cruel, naked, bare, biting being called the cross. And I need you. I don't need you to go to Nairobi. I need you to go to Pickerington. I don't need you to be concerned that extreme Muslim radicals will take automatic weapons and take your life. I don't ask you to risk that. I do ask you to risk a little bit of your time to stand up and make a statement to this community that we will not allow the cross to disappear from our cityscapes, the landscapes, our architecture, and we under God will not allow it to depart from our hearts, our minds, and our lips. So I'm rallying an army. God didn't raise me up to lead a parade anyway, did he? I want to raise up an army.